have drunk before, but I can't remember. Because it's not something, it doesn't affect me like that.
Oh, alcohol doesn't?
Nah, like it's never affected me the next day like that I remember.
Huh. That's pretty. That's funny. Oh man. So I'm logging into my YouTube so I can, because we are live, my friends.
Yeah,
What's going on YouTube world? What's going on Facebook world? This is yours truly, the James Cardoza, aka Ambassador Light, with my friend Kelly Bolo.
Hello.
I know it's almost like we're talking to a lot of people, but really it's just me and you talking to each other.
Sounds good.
But let me see. So today's topic is going to be on law of compensation.
Yes. So
yours truly. Oh, you can hear us in the background. So for a lot of people, really
sounds good.
At least we know we sound good.
Unless we're working.
I'm trying to share this to the posting to Facebook. Oh, you can hear some background. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to figure out social media where I can do a one-stop shop.
Yeah, just share
with everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, all is well.
You're doing way better than me because I don't know how to do it to the YouTube or anything. So I will work on that one though. See?
Yeah, it's just a matter of doing something and making the mistakes.
Yeah.
So I got shared all the groups. Like, well, it doesn't really matter, I guess.
So with the law of compensation.
Yes, ma'am.
How do we use that? Like it talks about like the effect, like giving and receiving basically. So, you reap what you sow. So the more you give in a good way, the more you'll receive. You'll be compensated like service basically.
Well, I think a big part of that is even in like who are you trying to appease? Who are you trying to appeal to? Because I believe that even in while it's good to do things for the good of doing good, I've heard people say that certain people were giving to the point of stupidity,
Yeah. Like how much, why are you giving? Where are you giving? What's the intention? If it's coming from
what's the reception of energy?
Yeah.
The level of energy involved. Yeah. I just think that people need to have an intention when they do something. Sometimes it's just to be good. You hear these guys and gals that give money during the holidays and they don't want any recognition, it's just for the benefit of helping somebody else.
Yeah.
Some people think that when you do that, the universe or God is seeing this, and he's the one the universe or God, he or she, is the one who repays you. Remember when I was working at a gym, one of the trainers, managers would say, people are like ATM machines. Before you can make a withdrawal, you got to make a deposit. So I don't mean to be making so much movement, just fitting. But no, I think compensation is to say if you do it's hard to explain, because like let's say I do something nice for somebody else, you may not reap the benefit from that particular person, maybe from someone completely different. If you believe in this theory, I think what happens is that when you get into a mindset, you find yourself in that vibration, right? The vibration of giving. So I think that's when you begin to receive too.
Yeah. I think it's similar to law of attraction, isn't it? Like you're attracting what you're giving. But when it's pure service, you're really not, well, for me, you're not intending to be anything more than what is needed in the moment. You're not worrying about if you're going to receive back. You're not giving with an intention that you will be receiving equally. You're just giving out of pure compassion, voluntary.
Yeah, I don't, maybe you can Google it a little more on it, see what it says. Because there's got to be more to it than that, a lot of compensation.
Yeah.
Maybe, well, for example, it could be if you do a hard day's work, you get compensated for pay.
Yes.
If you put in effort, so I think a lot of the times it's psychological too, because I know in sales, you always want the customer to leave the situation feeling like they had gained something, that they had won, right? And so you have to create a value greater than what you're charging them.
Yes.
So if I'm charging you $100, I have to make you believe that's $1,000 value, in which case you feel like you just saved $900.
Yeah. But there's integrity in that. Like there's like a value system in that doesn't have a, like it doesn't search for a compensation. You're just giving more than you receive in the moment, but in mirrored back to you, you're receiving more than you're expecting. Does that make sense? No.
Well, somebody once said, it's probably one of these Bob Proctor kind of people, they said, or Earl Nightingale or Napoleon Hill or somebody, Napoleon Hill, let's just say that. Do more than you're paid for and eventually get paid for more than you do.
Yeah.
Because even the work theory, how do you put a value on, like, you're compensated for your time? I guess it's based on the agreement, but how much is your time worth? Like, what if I say my time is worth $1 million an hour? Like, my life is so short. What if you had one left? What if you had one more day to live? What would you sell an hour for? You don't know how long you have to live, but how do you compensate someone's time? Because time is more valuable than money.
Yeah.
Every billionaire would give up all their money for, extension of life if today was their last day.
Yeah. So there is a law of compensation. Like basically the law exists, and the more we give value, the more we receive value. But we're not out there purposefully with our mindset giving so we can receive. Like it's not like it's an organic, natural cause and effect. The more you give, the more you receive. Like it's an actual balance of the universe.
No, I believe it.
What you
yeah, I definitely believe it. I just can't understand it because I'm not that giving of a person as I thought I was, but
yes, you are.
No, I'm just trying to be realistic. Like I try to think about the cause and effect. This is a law of compensation. So I think about with like religion, right?
Yeah.
It's like regardless of who you worship or what you worship, you put something at a greater foresight. So you have your it's like your, let's say we have our physical vision, but let's say we have an eternal vision or a vibrational vision, and we're seeing something and we're directed in a direction. Now we're focused. So now our efforts, our energy is focused towards something.
Yes.
Well, I think the same thing goes for compensation. Is like, but there has to be a level of conscious awareness with intelligence, right? Because any fool can shovel shit all day and get nothing for it. So you have to direct energy towards something potentially receiving, if that's true. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so like I agree too. Like there's obviously a focus, there's obviously a knowing. Like if we're listening to our gut instinct, there's also a knowing like that this is what you need to do today. Like, and you may have set the intention you want to serve today, but then you get this knowing of where you're going to serve because someone shows up that you then go and help, or vice versa, because service is both ways. And in that, there's this law of compensation where someone's helped you and you return the favor, or somehow you may have a wealth bank that then gives them money, and they, you know what I mean? Like it's like organic,
Teach your man
but
to
it's
fish.
also, yeah, like a value that's organic, that even if you did have an intention, I want to help people today, someone shows up you're not expecting that you help. Or you've set the intention, I'm going to go do service, I'm going to go help the elderly at the nursing home. Like, you know, either way, it's still giving.
Yeah.
It's how you internally value it that then compensation meets the internal value of that.
Well, I've once heard, and maybe I heard this from my own self, but there is no selfless act of good deeds or kindness, because even if you do something that makes you feel good, then you'll do it to make yourself, like, let's say I donate money to charity and I feel good because of it. That wasn't selfless, because a little part of me did it for the reward of doing something good.
Yes. Yeah.
I once tell people, like, I used to joke around, so I hate giving money away. So if I give money to somebody, that is a selfless act, because I don't feel good about it at all.
Yeah. But what if you, when you say you don't feel good, what is it that doesn't feel good? Like, is it a mind concept, sorry, or a emotion? You know, like, what is it that?
Well, I think it's the effort that it took to get that money. I don't want to have to replicate or duplicate that same effort to regain what I already had.
Yeah. Except in compensation, we're giving more than we have. You know,
Yeah.
like, and then it comes back even more.
No, I see it work all the time with my wife, particularly. She's a giver, and other people. Yeah, no, I believe this is hard for my brain to wrap around. You know, this is a tough one for me because,
Yeah.
what was I going to say? Compensation. Yeah. So, I'll give you an example. A good one would be like you and the deed that you want to do for the world, right? Like you have a cause that's forefront to your heart. You would get nothing from it, but seeing the accomplishment or seeing your goal achieved would be well worth it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Just witnessing the change in other people and the joy that it brings for them.
Yeah.
is freedom for me. Freedom for them. Like, I get to witness freedom. Like, that in itself is compensation for their freedom. Like, I get to witness that. That's a gift, to be the witness.
I think we're breaking through the veil here, because I think I'm starting to grasp from that one statement. So if you look at all the successful people in the world, they provided a service, they provided some sort, and the ones that do the best at it are the ones that have the emotional attachment or the emotional fulfillment to a bet, like whatever it may be. Like, it doesn't matter if it's good in everybody else's eyes, in their eyes it's good, and they have that emotion behind it. Like, if, let's face the facts, if you helped women in Africa and you turned Africa around, and I'm not sure, I think it's like 53 countries in Africa, I'm not sure how many of them are in dire poverty or what the population or what the havoc going on there is, but we do realize that it's not good, right? Like, it's not on the same playing field as Europe and America, and probably not Australia. Well, Australia, not definitely not Australia, right? Australia's kicking butt. But if you were able to turn it around, right, and Kelly Bolo was able to provide sustainable income, bring some sort of trade or job, or just help these women, to help the continent, you would probably not even expect the reward. But I mean, that would be one of the greatest achievements of human existence. You would get rewards for it. You wouldn't want it, but because that's just, people would be like, wow, I can't, people would praise you. That's huge.
Yeah, sort of. Now that you're talking like that, like, I wouldn't have looked at it that far along. I wouldn't have looked at the fact that I'd get an award for that, because that wouldn't even have come into my
intention. Not your intention, yeah. But that's the best part. Like, you're not supposed to want the reward. What you're supposed to want to do is you're supposed to want to do a really great job, and then the byproduct is the reward.
Yeah, like I can't even think that far ahead. Like, until you said it. Oh, an award. Like,
Well, James is a thinker.
so really, like, it's more in the present moment thing then, isn't it? Like compensation, where you're giving more than you're receiving in that moment of time value. So it's more you're present to now doing it. You're not in the future thinking of an award. You're not in the past thinking of, if I give that, I've got nothing left. You're in the present moment, actually just giving from pure consciousness, pure unconditional love. Yes, you might have had an intention, I'm going to help here, but that helps you get into the burning desire of momentum. As soon as you say to your internal self, whether it's conscious or not, I'm going to help here, I need to volunteer today here, you've already put yourself into some sort of action in the burning desire, which I call the heart consciousness.
Yeah.
And so that then puts you into the momentum of the law of compensation.
No, it's, yeah, I guess I've already known this, and I think what's happening is we have all the answers to all the problems. We just don't want to like look at the truth sometimes, and we turn a blind eye to what the reality is. The reality is, like, everybody says it. I think it's provide as great of possible service as possible. Compensation will rise, right? Like, if you can provide as much service in any means, in any field, you'll be successful, no matter what it is, because we're making an exchange in.
Yeah.
Exchange.
You're giving me good ideas, so I'm just writing something down.
Well, one of the problems that I have, I don't even know if I should call it a problem. It's, I get so tricked up in how these positive people talk about talking. All I know how to do is talk how I talk. But one of the things I get so caught up in is like the realm of reality. Like, everything exists, everything that happens is happening now. Like, everything that's ever happened is also happening now. It's like there is no time outside of the third dimension, which I'm barely learning about. But in my mind, I feel like I've lived infinite lives already. Like, I feel like I've already experienced through the feeling of like just countless lives.
Yeah.
It's almost getting to the point now where I'm just like, man, it's right over. Like, I keep on the same loop of wow. Like, imagine being on a roller coaster ride that never ends,
Yeah.
Shit.
And I love that, because like our mindset has a play in that, doesn't it? Like, our mindset, our ego or personality or behavior is deciding or discerning where we play in the game every day.
Well, that's exactly the point, is that even in our thoughts of where we are in the game, we're being manipulated through social constructs, through our upbringing, through our raising, to believe that there is even positionings. There are no positions.
Even a game.
Everything's made up. Everything's made up, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, if I wanted to make a game, I wanted to say everybody named Cali Bolo from Australia automatically wins. Well, you would like that game, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but it depends what they win.
Well, you get to be queen. You get to be queen of the world.
Queen of the world. Well, queen of the world's, to me, the universe, abundant universe. So,
well, you can help and do whatever you want, because you now have the magic, whatever, maybe. The point is, like, being born into this reality, we're born into a pre-existing social construct that maybe doesn't benefit everybody. We are already higher up on the board, like a chess game, right? You have king, queen, can't remember all the pieces, but But the reality is, like, every day that I live, I am the only person existing with me. So I am the maker, creator, the observer to what is my universe. And same for you, right? So you are your universe. So we never have to compare ourselves to other people, because it would be like two separate universes comparing themselves to each other. They don't. They're just mirror images, right? So we never have to hold ourselves. But the question is that I've realized is, what ripples are we making? So every person you interact with, everything you do, you're making a ripple. Yeah,
definitely. I love the ripple. And that's why it's important to be aware of what you're thinking, like that internal awareness in the power of now. really helps you decide and discern on what's a value that you hold as your internal core value. And then the ripple effect of that already creates the value for the whole of the human race, the earth, the animals. Like just that alone is creating a ripple just by you maintaining your core values. So it's real important to know those. Like,
Well, that's where it's important to journal. And I'm just, you know what? That. I highly recommend if you're listening to this, journal every day what you want, because it's very easy to get sidetracked by your observation and your senses, taking in other people's thoughts, objectives, perspectives. So if you want something, write it down every day. It's the only way you're going to keep focus on it. Otherwise, you'll get sidetracked, and then your attention is drawn away. Like, it's easy. I'm not gonna lie. I feel really bad for a lot of people because I consider myself somewhat aware, more so than the average James. But even I get caught up in the game of depression and anxiety. And it's like the gift is I can now relate to other people, but it's like, man, it's such a challenge to stay focused, particularly if it's not an immediate result. Like, we don't really like things that take a long time to achieve.
Yes, that's true. So back to law of compensation, you don't know when that's going to be compensated. Like, you've helped someone and then it could be 6 months later, someone's helping you and you don't recognize that was law of compensation because it took so long. Someone's giving, you don't always recognize that. But when you use your inner knowing, like tap into your gut instinct, you may then recognize it. So like being aware of appreciating the value no matter what it is as you go along. The more you appreciate the value, the more it is compensated, as in giving and receiving. No, it's just the law of value, internal value. Keep your core values as the forefront and you'll create the ripple for others to have their own values, whatever they are for them. That is giving.
Yeah. I guess you have to do whatever you got to do. Come up with any reasoning for why it's beneficial for you. What could motivate you to do more? Like, what excites me about each day, what keeps me excited and not falling off the cliff. Because I imagine that every person that I impact, I try to impact them in a positive manner and leave them in a place of gain, regardless of what the situation may be, even if it's just a smile. I always try to leave every person in a feeling of growth, so that when they have so that when the image, because we have images planted in our brains every day, the image of me planted in their brain is a positive one, right? And I want that ripple to be a ripple of love. So that everything that I do, because it's a small ripple, but it vibrates largely, and if it's happening immediately here and everything's connected through the ether and the spaces in between, the farthest stars are hearing what we're doing. Now, let's just think of somebody you love the most, respect the most. Let's just say your grandmother, your mother, wherever they may be, because energy doesn't die, or it's consistent. They can hear you and feel you. So let's be consciously aware that the decisions we make are impacting everything and everyone we love as well. And we love it, and we love everything, because everything is us.
Exactly.
That doesn't sound kind of weird.
So even coming back to that law of internal, like compensation even to yourself, because internally we are our DNA cells of our entire family lineage. And so the law of compensation to ourselves, like good water, drinking water, good food, exercise, like that in itself is giving to the universe.
My mom gave me this cup that said, "Faith can move mountains." Matthew 17:20. I drink my water out of it every day.
Beautiful. So, that self-care, like just making sure you have at least clean drinking water if you can't do anything else, just going for that even is a blessing, especially when our bodies are 70% water. So giving water to others as well, clean water to others, really is a service of compensation if you're following that law, or just basically humane, humanity compensating to support each and every one of us is valuable, because water is that valuable. We're 70% water, so we're that valuable.
Well, it's one of those things too, because I don't think people are aware of the actual events taking place around water and the purchasing of water rights, the land that water is taken from. See, I'm not sure if you can legally own water, but you can charge people to bottle it and all that sort of stuff, brand it, whatever they do.
Yeah.
You can't allow people to have the power over a natural resource that is required to sustain life, because they have the power to control and manipulate and dictate. What we need to do is we need to have a global understanding. Like, I know we have nationalism and pride and all these sort of things that are play victim to our ego, but we should at least agree. I mean, can we at least have a council of, we have all these other bullshit councils that don't do anything. Can we at least have one that's worth something, a council of water, where we contribute to the global drinking water, that every human can at least have water. There's more water on the earth than there's anything else, and the same amount of water has always been here. It's not like we can't manage a way to figure out to get people clean drinking water. It's not.
Yeah.
We're spending trillions of dollars to go to other planets. We're building, we're doing a lot of amazing shit. Let's go back to the basics, master the basics. We all need water to live. Water should be a free, attainable resource.
Yeah, and just the value, like the internal value of that, the internal value for all of living creatures. Water is one of our number one things we need. And so, just the balance of that, because when in the law of compensation, what we're creating is balance, but it's not like we're going to be balanced. It's a balance of giving and receiving, of, that compensation of whatever you give in value is compensated in equal value, but it could be, you might give money, but it could come back in joy.
Yeah.
But there's a value in that, like me seeing all of those beautiful women in their feminine power, and I see that as joy, like they've tapped into their internal knowing, their freedom of being their authentic self. And so for me, that's a joy to witness. That's the value for me.
Well, it's like
that I got to witness.
Yeah, something amazing.
Transformation.
Well, it's like we kind of decided, and I know we've been sluggish on it, but I think the more we speak about it, the more we implant it in our brains. And the name can change. It doesn't. The names don't make a difference, right? It's the impact that's most important. Right now, we're just calling it universal light because no one's changed the name yet. But when it changes, if it changes, it doesn't matter. It's just irrelevant. All right, that's just your pride that own a title or anything. But yeah, like the idea of improving the future generations through education and awareness of young women for embodiment and just self-care, and knowing the impacts that studies have proven, right? Like educated women and how they help the family and just the benefit of the culture and the society. But just imagine how many lives, imagine the individual lives, the individual women, the individual families who are probably in just dire need of help. Imagine being their savior, their provider, their helper, but not in the sense that you are there forever, but you just point them in the right direction, provide them with a little additional resources, and just let it flourish, right? Like you can build a garden almost anywhere.
Yeah.
Imagine going around and just meeting these people. It's gotta be an amazing feeling to just help somebody. And that's the compensation. Like you get to witness, and because money is it's an exchange of energy, but to help somebody, I think people are the most valuable resource on the planet. I think I really do. I can't explain it, but
well, that teach the person how to make the bread, not just give them the loaf.
Oh yeah, we call it teach a man to fish, not give a man a fish. But yeah, same thing.
Yeah, like teach them, you're giving them the seed that will support them come into their value. And then from there, they get to choose what they do with it, because it's none of your business. But but that's your law of compensation. Like you're passing it forward, or you're moving, still in the momentum of compensation. And when I say passing it forward, you're giving the seed.
Yeah. But even then, I think sometimes in the deeper perception, that even that theory is so we have this thing called a trickle down effect. And that is, for example, let's say you give the CEO something. He's going to feel overly excited. Hey, I'm so excited, and rain down the wealth to his subordinates. Never happens. We have greed, so the person just pockets it, right? And so now I'm not sure how the central banking system works. I know I've seen lots of conspiracy theories, but it just seems crazy, the things that we manage to it's like it disappears. Like, oh, we don't even think about it. But the things we managed to come up with money for, which is not like we have to fight for the money. We're printing the money.
Yeah.
The things we can print money for, but then the things we don't print money for. And then you think, do we really have to have people at every level working as hard as they work, while some people at the very top, like we see them, do they really deserve to? Because at the end of the day, the strength is in people, right? So how can 5 do nothing and eat like kings when 95 million or something? So I don't know. I think it's going to be, I think what happens is, I don't know. I don't know the answer to this, but I'm very excited for the future because I think a shift is about to happen. And I think it has to do with the feminine energy, which is your area of expertise.
Yeah, and like even in that conversation, like you're talking about the greed, like I heard greed, and I'm wondering, like where in, because sometimes our well, I shouldn't say sometimes, our internal judgment, whether we're aware of it or not, even the subtle subconsciousness of judgment, like every part of us still has a idea of what value should be, and then that even has a form of judgment that stops the organic value being received and compensated. And so when I say judgment, like your mindset, whatever subtle belief around greed, for example, I'm just using greed as my example, in you can stop the flow of compensation, of giving. You know what I mean? Like you're giving, you're doing your best, but internally there's a subtle, small percent of something around greed. And then from there, the ripple effect stops the flow of the law of compensation. So this is why our internal awareness of every time we choose something, is this really what we want? Does this really, because, okay, this man, I was at the what do you call it? Money machine. I can't think.
ATM.
And I was the person in front of me fell, and I didn't get down and help because my intuition said don't help. Right? So I stood and I waited. Like I could have rushed in because I was a nurse, so I could have rushed in and helped. But my intuition said, wait. And then this other person came running and they stopped down, like got down and helped. And I just stood there. Now I recognized that if I had helped, it wasn't the right moment of me needing to help. I just had to stay as me, which like I'm an earth angel, so I'm connected to a lot of energy. And I did the grounding work. Right? Now, not everyone's into the word grounding, but that's what I did. I grounded the person by staying separate, but intended and knew I had to help the person that way, ground their roots back into the earth. The other person came running over and actually got down and was doing some help. Now, I could have got down and done that kind of work, but it would have taken me out of what my true compensation value was in the moment for that person, because I could actually do more with the energy than actually physically for them in that moment.
Yeah. Well, I think the two words that played in my mind are intention and perception. Because we may look at somebody who's greedy.
Yes.
They may not consider themselves greedy.
Exactly.
So they wouldn't have that internal vibration.
Yeah. And if they're coming from law of compensation, even though they look greedy to someone else, and they're coming from pure law of compensation, of giving more than you receive, then what, you know, the person witnessing has two choices in that moment: to discern whether it's true judgment or discern whether they're actually in the law of value and compensation. And that takes a little bit of practice. Like, that takes a moment to check in with your heart, not your mind, because your mind will tell you whatever you still believe it is, which is greedy. Your heart, and really discern, you know, because I had to take a moment. Like, when that person fell, my normal reaction would have been to go and help, but I got, no, don't move. And I then tapped in and went, okay, I've got to ground this person. As soon as I grounded and the other person came straight away, the person was fine. It was probably more shock that they fell. And so me grounding them put their roots back in, because when we're in shock, our roots come out, our energetic roots I'm talking. And so I was energetically putting them back in so that they were stable. And I've actually done that before with another lady. When I was walking, a lady fell on the gutter edge getting in her car. And I did the exact same thing. Like, I knew I could help, but I was more help grounding her. Yeah. And then her family member had come out, and all I did was hold a hand and ground her.
Well, that's why the military, first responders, they have to continuously train, because you're going against natural law when you put yourself in danger like that, right? It's like you have to be confident. The only way to be confident is through training. I love talking to you, Kelly, because I feel like when our conversations start and we're talking, I feel like I shoot up into the sky, and our brains are just open to information and a new way of seeing things. And I was going to say this, I think what is going to happen, because I'm thinking about all the people, and I'm thinking about all the people that control everything. I've been getting a lot of, I don't know how to put this. I've been getting a lot of contact from not particular people, but just images and stuff like that of the new world. The new world is upon us. And one of the things that's going to be changing, it's going to be very different for a lot of people to grasp this, but the idea of ownership is about to be extinct. So one man can't continue to buy it. One person cannot continue to buy everything and have the perception amongst everybody else that he owns it.
Yeah.
We'll have to be in ownership of our immediate being. Like, you won't have this, I own everything, and everybody agrees to you, right? Because as soon as everybody doesn't agree with you, you don't own it. Yeah. So, like, no one owns anything. We don't own land. A policy gives us this land, right? Like, oh, well, the government's not real. A border is not real. Countries are not real. The planet is real. The matter is real. The energy is real. Everything else is constructed by people, and we've agreed to it at birth because we were told.
It's an agreement. Yeah.
But when people stop agreeing to this thing, which is going to happen very soon,
yeah,
the new world. I mean, it's going to suck for a lot of. Well, it'll suck for a lot of people. Actually, it'll be a lot better for a lot of people. It may suck for a few billionaires who all of a sudden won't have any more money, because they're not going to make money off the efforts of people who don't even know, right? But yeah, I think that's going to be a big transition. That's going to have a huge effect, is that there's not going to be ownership anymore. Like, we can't technically own anything unless people agree that we own it. We will be able to exist and utilize our surrounding, but we won't be able to own like one person's not going to be able to own half the planet, right? And everybody agrees to it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he bought it all. It's his. Well, I didn't agree to that. I wasn't around when he made his money. I shouldn't have to. I was born on a planet, and it was already predetermined that he gets to own everything without my what is that? What do they call that? My will, my desire. What is the word? Without my knowledge or whatever. My consent. Without my consent, everything that's here was here without our consent because we weren't around yet. But we're just expected to live by it. Well, I think people are getting pissed, and I don't think it's they've done a pretty good job dividing us, and they've done a pretty good job making it seem like this is a big one. At least it's not as bad as them. At least you don't have it as bad as them. And you go, well, yeah, I am special because I don't have it as bad as them. But not having it as bad as somebody else doesn't mean your shit's not pretty shitty, right? Like we give up our entire lives without even realizing it for the benefit of very few. And I think I'm getting more and more excited about this because I think that there's going to be I don't know. I'm not sure how it's going to happen because not me, right? I'm just a person thinking it. And if I'm thinking it, because I'm seeing the obvious signs, that means a lot of people are thinking it. I'm just the messenger right here. I'm just the observer, the messenger that changes upon us. The world is drifting into a new paradigm, a paradigm that's more accepted, more collaborative, and less possessive. Less possessive for sure.
Yeah, it still comes back to value, like those core values, because each one of us has our own uniqueness and geniusness. And so the core value of appreciation of the, because we've all got a heart, like every living creature has a heart beating, and we've all got the same water in us, the same food in us. So coming back to the value of appreciation of everyone in this planet, every living creature, just has the equality that like doesn't really need anything, doesn't need money, it doesn't need, all it needs is to love thyself, and the ripple effect of that is unconditional love for all. Like we're talking awakening consciousness, awakening heart consciousness to a new level of understanding and self-acceptance, new value system. And some people may have that. Like you look at someone that's a billionaire and you assume that they have that internal knowing and self-love and acceptance. But what was their momentum to become a billionaire? Some people will have used that momentum through their internal value and the value of all living creatures. And others will have got there through the need to be the powerfulest person on in the earth and be seen as that, you know, like what is the why behind your heart awakened consciousness, and are you there yet? Is it your mind that's saying you need that value, or your heart? And when we come into that core value of the heart, really we are bringing the value, the ripple effect for all beings. Like, you know, it gives everyone permission on this planet to be valued equally.
Well, you don't break the old. You just make something better that makes the old obsolete.
Yeah.
So now, I say this all the time, Callie. I know you're on my team already. Well, I shouldn't say that. I know we are on the same team.
Yeah.
But we need more people. I know there are people out there because I've seen the groups. I've seen the connection. I've seen the numbers. I know the vibration. It's like 440 million people on the same vibration for world peace. It can be achieved, right? I can't remember the group's name now.
Wow.
But
what's that group? Because I'm into world peace.
Yeah, it's interesting. Let's just say this: it's a percentage of the overall population that has to be on the same vibrational wavelength, right? And the big one that's been in control of these religion is about the closest thing to having the population numbers, right? I mean, it's like 2 billion Christians, right? But even amongst the Christians, they can't even rationalize their own Christian belief because they have Lutheran, Protestant. I mean, there's like this variations, right? Yeah. And everybody wants to be different. So it's like, and the problem with anything, it can't be, you cannot get your way through fear, because fear is not good, right? So if there's a consequence to the opposition, that's not good.
Yeah.
But that's the closest thing as far as having the numbers. Unfortunately, it's a hierarchy, right? I mean, it's like a
Yeah. And like
pyramid.
even when you say fear, like I think of judgment again, because judgment's just a fear of the unknown, that you're not quite good enough, or they think they're in their ego. Like you're judging whatever you're perceiving, and there might be a small percent in self that doesn't believe that they're really legitimate. But like you said before, that rich person may not even see themselves as greedy. They just see
Yeah.
themselves as going for their values. I mean, eventually, like people like Oprah and all that, obviously they're always giving. So they're coming from an overflowing value of all beings.
Well, yeah, then there's also, there's conspiracies, but I think the biggest thing we need to focus on is focus on one direction that we can all agree to. That's why I chose water. It's about the easiest thing I could think about where everybody can align their thoughts. We need drinking water without there being some sort of separation. Or, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love all the stories. And
Yeah, there is no separation.
having
Yeah.
felt that I've lived, an infinite amount of lives, I enjoy researching about the Knights Templar, right? And understanding that they started off as, I want to say they were like basically monks or priests, right? And they became defenders of the travelers to Jerusalem. So they became defenders of the Christian, but they also became a banking system.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. Hey, don't get me wrong. I love the Catholic Church. I love the Catholic Church, and it's this similarity to the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Right? Roman Empire basically built most of the world, right? That's cool. I dig it. I'm not trying to be, mean.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say that if people just aligned, man, the potential is so much greater.
Yeah.
And it's like I can't even get people to agree on some basic shit. So let's just focus on water.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need
And the
water.
value, it's back to the value of that. How much do you value yourselves by having clean drinking water? Like not everyone can have clean drinking water, mind you, but
Like
because of the
if someone said drinking water was a Muslim thing, would Christians stop drinking water? That would be or vice versa? Would they be so prideful in their belief that they wouldn't drink water because, well, that's the opposition's?
yeah.
Cool. They wouldn't. They would always drink water because they need to live, right? As much as everybody, I'm not trying to be blasphemous, but I'm just trying to make people, as much as people are excited about a better place when they die, ain't no one trying to die.
Yeah.
I think the Marines say everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die.
Yeah. And like if it's just a veil between heaven and earth, really all it really is unconditional love, the value of unconditional love between heaven and earth through the veil.
Yeah.
So,
but what is heaven though? I don't. Well, that's a perspective, I guess. I can't prove it wrong.
yeah,
But
like
we are
just
in
the
heaven.
spirit,
If they all
another
exist.
dimension. Yeah.
No. What if we are in heaven and we're treating them like shit? I mean,
Yeah.
what if dang it. Thinking too much. But no,
Yeah. So if this is heaven,
yeah.
what value do you want to put on it? Like, and it has to come from an internal value as well. Like, you can't just keep giving without valuing yourself so that you also give and receive with yourself. Like, so
I guess.
if you're giving water and you're not drinking enough yourself, you're going to create an imbalance. But if you're drinking the water that sustains you, and you have the intention that everyone gets this opportunity to be this valued, that water energy effect of that creates like it just through that intention that what I drink, everyone else is equally able to receive. Like that's just a prayer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a manifestation, right? Prayer, whatever you call it. I guess if I had to say one thing that I would like, one value that I would like to create for humanity, is not just the belief, of free will, but the actual achievement of free will. Because we don't have free will. It's hard to. We are pre-programmed in everything. Our decisions are already being made for us without us realizing it. They've been made for us since we were born, and that's generational and goes back. Couldn't tell you who else. I couldn't tell you who the real wizard, the master trickster is. But we don't have free will on this planet, and I feel like that is the greatest gift that anybody should be able to have is free will, right or wrong. I know that sounds a little counterintuitive. People can make decisions, but free will to think freely would be the value that I would shoot for, if it's even accomplishment.
Yeah. So in that free will, like with free will, it's an internal knowing, like an internal choice. So back to getting aware of what you're thinking and what you're feeling, knowing your internal vibration and what you really desire daily, like, how do you want to show up in the world? So all of that is free will, because you get to choose how you want to feel. You get to choose how you show up. That is your ultimate free will. But are we using that, or are we using our outside journey to choose for us? And our mindset goes with that, but where we come back into our heart and really sit in our heart's desire or consciousness of the heart and really tap into what you will today. What do you decide you want to do today? Like, yes, you might have to go to work, but how do you want to show up and feel? Because that's your free will, how you feel while you're working. No one else can make you feel how you want to feel while you work.
I guess you're right there. How you feel, like regardless of what's happening, how you feel about it is your choice, huh?
It's your free will. That is your will.
Yes,
you've got to go to work, but you still get to choose. How do I want to be at work today? Do I want to be a beautiful, heart-centered human being and sit in my own internal will and value of that? Or do I want to be in my mindset and be thinking, can't wait for the shift to finish? The whole time. I can't wait for the shift to finish. Can't wait for the shift to clock off.
only thing I'll be thinking in the future is whatever's happening, how can I be as bright of a light as Kelly Bolo, man? Because you really are a bright light.
Yeah.
You strive to you make the world a better place. I know there are more people like you. I just hope that you continue to connect with as many people as possible, because you are definitely the spark in the world of a lot of people. And I appreciate you very much, my friend. I appreciate you dearly.
Thank you, James. I appreciate you too.
Well, it's just sometimes we got to realign, It's like you're the grounder for our souls, my friend.
Yeah, it's like realigning our awareness. Like, I've got to do it too. But, everything we choose is our will. Even if it looks like someone else chose for us, what are we thinking that brought the compensation of that towards us?
Our thoughts have power.
Our thoughts have power. Like, I know my thoughts have power.
Yeah.
So, and we get lazy on being aware of what our thoughts are doing. When I say lazy, we sort of get complacent, and then a week later go, what have I been thinking? Because why is this all happening? When you check in with your heart, you realize that you sort of got complacent and realized you weren't really choosing from your will. You were choosing from the will outside of you, from other people, what they wanted.
Or you were in a lower vibrational state when you were choosing.
Yeah,
like fear,
in that lower vibration.
Fear, envy, or one of those.
Yeah, we've sort of blobbed into the community fear and start to choose from there. All we're learning is coming back to our powerful self, checking in with our own will, our own value, and then trusting your gut instinct, which is your soul. Like, you're trusting the experience of your soul's choice.
Man, I wish I knew all the answers. Like, I wish I had all the knowledge that there is to have. Like, where is this tree of wisdom?
I think it's in us, but we've just got to go in and really have a relationship,
Man,
befriending ourselves.
I would not have taken a bite of the apple. I would have made apple cider.
Yeah. Well, this is where our will comes in. We're enjoying our choice to live.
Yeah, I know there's an answer out there that I'm seeking. And I'm sure some really smart person has an opinion to give that I'll probably be like, I like that opinion.
Yeah.
But one day I hope to know the truth of everything. So
Yeah.
I think there is a limit. I mean, not a limit. There is a. You know what's gonna be funny is when you get to a place of nirvana, we'll call it Buddhist, right?
Mhm.
And you realize we knew nothing because all the things that there was to do, we created anyway. So it wasn't even
Exactly.
real. Like all the knowledge was not real because the knowledgeable topics weren't real. You know,
Yeah.
it's like learning a game called Boop Boop. Well, that's just
Yeah.
made up. Everything else is made up too. So maybe there's nothing to know. Maybe you
Yeah.
already do know everything. I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly. And so the law of compensation basically is like cause and effect. Like really anything you decide in the moment, anything you're thinking, believing, deciding through your free will to choose that, when you tap into your intuition, you realize it's you choosing it.
I guess, my mentor once told me through some wizardry that everything in life's a mirror image, right? Like it's actually opposite or reverse or upside down. So what you do is you don't look for what you want, you become what you want.
Yeah.
So be the person you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
So every day look in the mirror and just ask yourself, why do I always get what I want, right?
Yeah. Or who do I want to be today? Like when you're at work, who do I want to be today before I leave home? Like, what do I choose? I want to feel like. How do I want to feel? Do I want to be my happy, valued self and just value yourself until eventually the world changes around you and it's an equality in value. Because
This
that's
is
what we're learning.
this is something crazy. Because imagine if people said, I want to be more Christ-like. Like I'm not trying to pull the religion card again. I know I talk religion a lot. This is a popular topic. But there's stories about a man named Christ. Imagine if we somewhat mimicked his behavior. That's what I'm gonna start doing. I'm gonna start mimicking his behavior. First of all, I need to start reading the Bible again because I haven't read it in a while. I don't remember the stories. But I think that could be a good action because now we're gonna have the compensation of a man who was probably selfless, loving.
Love thy neighbor. 10 commandments.
Yeah, those are the basic rules of life, right? Like, man, maybe we should all get back into the Bible. Not in the sense that we have to follow the teaching, not necessarily the the foundation of a religion, but just maybe all the Bible should be learned. Maybe all the teachings. Maybe there's a truth in all of them. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that internal knowing of what's right for you is what people are tapping into nowadays. That internal wisdom, but it's not a mind concept. It's a real inner knowing when you tap into your heart consciousness.
Yeah.
I think that the Bible just represents Jesus with the 10 commandments of that, where he knew he was God in a body walking the earth. Like he knew he was the Son of God. You know what I mean? Like it's a knowing, but it's a knowing that has no need to show everyone, just be the value.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Pretty good stuff. Because there's the Quran, there's the Torah. I'm getting them right,
Yeah.
If we go older, we got Hindus, Buddhists. And I'm pretty sure there's some truth to even Greek mythology.
Yes.
And Roman, because they had there's always very similar stories,
Yeah.
Very similar. I'd like to know who the first architect was,
Yeah.
Who was sitting around smoking peyote going, dude, people 3,000 years are going to freak out when I see this.
So, yeah, the law of compensation, basically, if you look at Jesus or any of those religions, like basically the head of that religion, like on earth in the physical body, Jesus, basically brought the 10, I'm saying the 10 commandments, but basically brought his true value of who he is, which is the Son of God, and then just was being that, and that was enough to change people's perception, to touch his robe and be healed. You know,
what was his compensation? You think his compensation is to be known eternally?
That we're eternal, like, and
so Jesus' compensation, right? We're talking about law of compensation. What was his compensation for what he did?
To me, he was just pure love.
Yeah.
So his law of compensation was showing the world the value of love, like the value of your connection from heaven to earth, if you want to call it heaven to earth, the universe, like the value of being just pure love heals everything. Like he didn't need to judge. He didn't judge the people putting him on the cross. He didn't judge anything. He was just pure, unconditional.
Yeah. A lot to learn, right? We get a lot of things that we get a lot of opportunities to learn a lot of things in this life. It's just a matter of, I guess it's a matter of filtering through what we want to learn. But I think with the law of compensation, it also comes down to what do you want to compensate too? Like what do you want to receive?
Yeah. And what's your passion? Because when we follow our passion to help another, that in itself awakens an internal joy for all that receive that law of compensation, of that giving, of that value. Like for yourself and everyone else. When it's something you're passionate about that you know you can make a difference with, and you know serve that value to make a difference, that the passion in that is awakening joy in everyone that receives.
Yeah.
Instead of needing to outsource joy from buying anything that makes you feel good, like a brand new car, you're actually doing an internal joy of compensation that's a real joy that no one can take away. An appreciation and a validation of the value of each human being or every living creature.
Well, that's you know what? I guess that's my compensation, is that I'm doing the efforts to be seen, heard, and known by the whole world, even if it's just small little clips like this. I'm doing them every day. I'm interacting with people in public every single day. And it may take, I don't even want to say how much, you know what?
Yeah,
I hate saying the time frame. Well,
it's already happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are they? Yeah. So if people are watching this, I appreciate you. I don't want any ill will towards anybody other than to create a larger awareness of what can be possible when we work together, and not from a place of superiority or beneath, but a place of equality, right? Like all things are equal. That means all efforts are equal. Everybody has the same amount of time and the same amount of potential energy. So we just need to align these energies into something that we could all agree upon.
Yeah. And we've got to remember everyone's at different levels of understanding and wisdom and consciousness and acceptance, because we're all unique. So like no judgment in that. Like Jesus would have loved himself unconditional, to be able to stand there in unconditional love, and also loved the Father unconditional and the universal Father unconditional, to be able to be pure love. Like it comes also an internal job.
Well, the hard part's going to be nobody wants to be wrong. That's the ego. Like, it's just easier to say, I am wrong. It's like if you get in an argument, just say, thank you for sharing. Like, you don't have to.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with being wrong, guys. I'm wrong all the time. I mean, there's information I didn't have 5 years ago that I have today. And if I had 5 years ago, I would acknowledge that, hey, I didn't know the truth. And going 10 years in the future is probably information that I'm going to gather to see that maybe there are things I'm wrong about now. So there's no shame in being wrong. The only shame is not trying for a cause, right? And that cause is to improve the human experience. So we don't have to get so debatable over how to do it, as long as we're still walking slightly forward to that potential.
Yeah.
As long as,
Yeah.
you know, like, it doesn't have to be about being right. Like,
Yeah.
it's about doing what is right. And even being right about what is right. We know people want water to drink and they don't want to die. That's
Yeah.
pretty easy to know. Like, there's not things that are that hard. So, and
Yeah.
don't offer somebody something with your one hand and then smack them in the face with the other.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yes.
the cool thing is, Kelly, here we are, two people. The mastermind effect is in a play. So we're two more people aligned in my image. Here we are. Hope everybody's watching and enjoying. But I need to get going because
Yeah, I'm gonna go too.
I gotta make dinner.
Yes. I gotta go and have breakfast.
I'll feed your soul, my friends. Feed your body.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, you too. Enjoy your week. Bye for now.
Talk to you later.
Bye.